Now, this might be hard to believe, but when I was growing up, I was really into skateboarding. Now, don't get me wrong, I was awful at it. In fact, I could barely even stand on the thing while it was moving. But for some reason, I was still fascinated by skateboarding. So I turned to the same place we all turned when we want to do something badass without any of the effort: video games. Now, it's hard to talk about skateboarding video games without mentioning the most well-known skateboarding game out there: Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure. Wait, that's not the right one. Obviously, I meant the Tony Hawk series, which has appeared on just about every console since its first release on the original PlayStation. Since then, they've released way too many games in the series. Some of them great, some of them, well, the less said about those, the better. Most of these games are just generic sports games where you try and get the highest score. But today, we're going to be looking at Tony Hawk's Underground for the PlayStation 2. A generic sports game where you try and get the highest score with a story. So let's strap in for one radical adventure. Or something like that. The game starts with us creating our own character to follow on this adventure. And since I'm a self-centered jerk, I tried to make him look just like me, but with way less polygons. A long, long time ago in a faraway land known simply as New Jersey, our hero is doing the most badass thing you can do with a skateboard, making minor adjustments to your gear. Then our buddy Eric Sparrow comes by and lets us know that a famous skater is in town, and we have to check it out. Now, what's the first thing you think about when you think skateboarding video game? Well, obviously it's running around without a skateboard. You'd think that if walking was the first thing they were going to introduce you to, they'd make sure it felt really good, right? So naive. Nope, it's awful. You have very little control over the fine movements. I mean, just take a look at this part from later in the game where I need to climb this ladder. Come on. Really? Are you kidding me? Fuck. Finally, I made it to the shit. The game is split into many chapters, and each one sends us around the map, picking up tasks for people, and once we've run enough errands, we can advance the story. Our first task is to drive a souped-up car around the city to impress a local street gang. For a game about skateboarding, I'm sure as hell not doing a lot of it. The vehicle controls are almost as bad as the on-foot controls. It's a little hard to explain, but every action you take in the vehicle is all or nothing. Always top speed, always hairpin turns, always crashing into the wall. It makes everything feel very loose. Luckily for us, the rest of the missions are mostly related to skateboarding. I know, what a wild thought. We've got everything from pulling off radical tricks to walking dogs around the neighborhood, and of course, impressing the local babes with our awesome combos.
Your combos are so big.
So the game does offer quite a bit of variety, and luckily for us, those issues that plague the other control methods aren't present with the actual skateboarding in this game, which actually feels pretty damn good. And once you get the hang of how everything works, you can string together a pretty impressive combo and rack up a score large enough to make mom and dad proud. Well, maybe not that impressive. Once we've completed enough errands for the locals, we manage to impress that famous skater, who tells us to stop being a filthy casual and get sponsored already. Then he gives us a hand-me-down skateboard he was probably gonna throw in the dumpster anyway. So with our new, slightly used board in hand, we go off to talk to the manager of our local skate shop and demand that he's not here. So I guess it's back to impressing more locals. This time, however, they want us to infiltrate the hideout of a group of murderous drug dealers who stole a bunch of stuff from the shop. I'm sorry, what? One second I'm doing crazy jumpy tricks on my board, and the next I'm probably gonna get stabbed to death by some drugged out crazy person. Talk about a shift in tone. Luckily for us, this kid really seems to care whether or not we live or die.
Wait, kid, it's too dangerous!
No, stop, don't go. This introduces us to the game's stealth sections, and these are by far the worst part of this game. They mix the horrible walking controls with wonky enemy AI. Even after beating the game, I still have no idea how their line of sight works. Once we manage to make our way into the drug den, Eric shows up acting particularly deranged, spouting something about how these dealers are gonna pay. right before he makes us an accessory to arson. What a good friend. This is, however, enough for us to impress the hippie skate shop owner, who considers offering us a sponsorship if we can make a video that blows his mind. But none of that local shit. We need to go big or go home. Luckily for us, our BFF Eric is back, and those psycho murderer drug dealers figured out he blew up their car. I don't really see how this is my issue, but I guess I probably shouldn't let my friend get murdered. Except there's one problem. There's only one way out of the neighborhood, and the cops have instituted martial law and are blocking the only bridge out of town.
Jumping the bridge is the only way to get past the cops.
So we need to collect all the junk in the neighborhood and make a giant ramp so we can launch ourselves over the bridge and to freedom. This game is making less and less sense by the minute. However, this stupid idea of a plan works, because video games. And we make it to the train station and are almost home free. But Eric gets kidnapped. Oh, god damn it, Eric. We chase after the would-be kidnappers and somehow manage to keep up with them, even though they're in a car. But after a while, as this NPC puts it,
Whoa, he's flipping a bitch!
and we grab a car and put the pedal to the metal in order to save our friend, which is actually harder than just following them on foot was, because for some reason they're perfect drivers and make hairpin turns faster than I can react. I mean, look at this shit. It basically becomes trial and error until you have their path memorized. But eventually we chase them down and ram into their car, killing everyone inside, and get to spend the next 5 to 10 years in prison for reckless manslaughter charges. I mean, of course that's not what really happened. Eric is fine, and we board the train straight to the city of dreams, New York. We have 2 goals here in the city: score some awesome footage, and most importantly, grab the skate shop owner some food from his favorite McDonald's, which happens to be run by this racist caricature who takes his job way too seriously.
My fusion of ancient Japanese cooking techniques and modern foods has won him over.
Dude, you work at McDonald's. What ancient Japanese cooking techniques could you possibly be talking about? Once we fused our skating with said cooking techniques, we are finally offered that sponsorship, and it's off to our first real competition. Once we get there, it just so happens that Eric conveniently forgets to sign us up for the contest. But hey, it could be his big break, and he can't pass this up. So it's up to us to once again impress the locals in order to get entry in the contest. We managed to catch the attention of the Hawkman himself, and he challenges us to a skate-off where we wipe the floor with him by a massive 150,000 points to 38,000. Yeah, now who's the professional skateboard man? After his embarrassing defeat, he makes sure we get into the competition, and we proceed to decimate the rest of the competitors until it's just us and Eric. Once we kick his ass, he storms off, and suddenly every sponsor in the world wants into our pants. Now that we have our first major sponsor, it's time to live the high life of an amateur skateboard person. So we meet up with our manager, and I didn't realize that they put me into this game. I mean, besides the me that I already put into this game. This joke might not work. But we've made it, and it's time to celebrate all our victories with the team. So they're gonna throw us a party, and all I have to do is put up all the flyers, pick up all the chicks, and be sober enough to make sure that the team doesn't get into too much trouble, which of course they do anyway, so I have to take revenge on the local security team so they don't make off with our gear. Sure seems like everyone else is having a good time while I'm stuck doing all the grunt work. Alright, enough fucking around, it's time to get serious. I've been sponsored for about 2 days now. I need to get my life together and be a pro already. So it's off to Hawaii in order to make this dream I came up with 5 minutes ago become a reality. If this game has taught me anything, it's that if you want to become a professional skateboarder, all you need to do is photobomb someone's very expensive wedding photos, go on a vehicular rampage destroying pineapple stands, and poop in a pool. I thought this was a video game about skateboarding, but in all of our misadventures, we do manage to find the perfect spot to pull off the trick of a lifetime. So we call up our totally trustworthy friend Eric Sparrow, who would never do anything to fuck us over, so he can help us film our death-defying feat of skateboarding magic. The goal is to jump from the roof of one hotel onto the roof of another. This seems like a pretty terrible idea. One slip up and I'll be flat as a board. A skateboard! Oh, and to make matters even worse, now there's a helicopter between the two buildings. This is it. My career-defining moment. This is what separates the men from the people who don't have a death wish. Oops, he's dead. Thank God for retries. By some miracle, I managed to land the trick, and it's probably the best thing that anyone has ever filmed in the history of all time, forever.
It's the best thing anybody ever filmed.
All that's left to do is edit this bad boy and debut it at the team's video premiere. Unfortunately, we need to drive the limo and pick up some VIP sponsors for the big show. Luckily, our buddy Eric has our back, and in a selfless move, he's gonna make sure the tape is ready for the reveal. I'm sure he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart and has no ulterior motive whatsoever. We race to the premiere, only to find out that Eric has taken credit for our trick and is being named a pro because of it. Oh no, if only we could have possibly known that Eric probably wasn't the most trustworthy person. It's time to get our revenge, and during the next tournament, we write ourselves in as a pro and drop the most badass line of the game.
You're a pro? They entered you as an amateur.
Someone made a mistake.
You would think it wouldn't be possible just to go up and register in a pro competition just by writing your name down, but whatever. It's time to put that smug bastard Eric in his place. Luckily, it's super easy to become a pro. You just have to hang on to the edge of a half pipe and button mash to change tricks until your multiplier is giving you 60,000 points per combo. Land a couple of those, and you've effectively broken the game. Our manager finally names us a pro, and it's off to glorious Russia for the next part of our world tour. While in Russia, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, we decide, for whatever reason, to forgive Eric and make up like nothing happened. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me for like the 5th time now, and I'm asking for it at this point. Later that night, Eric has a little too much to drink and ends up hijacking a tank. We try to save his dumbass for like the 3rd time in this game, and of course, he ends up betraying us and leaving us stuck in a tank and taking the fall for the damages, causing us to be dropped from our team and stranded in Russia. Seriously, if there's one thing this game succeeds at, it's making you hate this fucking guy. You never see Eric Sparrow at the top of any top 10 video game betrayal videos, and I think that's a real shame. If the game hadn't jumped the shark yet, it's about to, because in order to get home, we end up working with the resistance group in order to take down the Russian government so they'll provide us with a ride home.
Thank you, my friend. And now I will do for you. You are going home.
I don't even know why I'm surprised at this point. Back home, we decide to stick it to the man and prove that skating isn't about the fame, the money, the women. Deep down, what really matters is that you're having fun. Though I'm sure that other stuff is nice too. So we somehow convince a bunch of pros to stop making money and join my side in order to make the realest video that's ever been videoed. This basically boils down to a bunch of harder than usual tricks that aren't really all that interesting to talk about. Long story short, we end up making a really heartfelt video about skateboarding. And this for some reason makes Eric Sparrow really mad. Grrr! He challenges us to one final showdown. The prize? The unedited Hawaii footage he stole from us. What follows is a challenge that haunted my dreams as a child. Sometimes I still wake up in a cold sweat thinking about it. You have to follow Eric around New Jersey, trying to keep up with him as he throws Molotov cocktails at you? Damn, he takes this shit seriously. I'd like to think that I'm pretty good at this game, but I failed here a lot. I managed to cheese my way through the challenge just by climbing on stuff in order to hit the checkpoints, and finally put Eric in his place. With the tape in our hands, Eric cries like a little bitch, and that's basically where the game ends.
Nothing but luck, you little bitch! Get back here! You ain't nothing! I know I can kick your ass!
For all your hard work in the story mode, you unlock Iron Man as a playable character. That's right, you get to play as Tony fucking Stark. Oh game, if there's one way you could win my heart, it's by taking advantage of my love of comic books. So that was Tony Hawk's Underground, and what a trip it was. What separates it from the rest of the series is that unique story, and for a first attempt, it's really not that bad. Sure, it's silly and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's a game about doing flips on a piece of wood. it didn't need to be Citizen Kane. And while the writing may have been below average at best, they did a really good job making me hate Eric Sparrow. Seriously, fuck that guy. It's totally worth playing, but only if you aren't taking it too seriously. Yeah, it's dumb, but it's dumb fun. The only thing really holding it down are the awful controls both on foot and in vehicles. To be honest, the game would have been better without either of these because they don't add anything to the game. Who knows, maybe they learned their lesson and fixed all these problems in Tony Hawk's Underground 2? Oh my god, they made a second one?
Wheel of Loogie. Phil, why don't you do the honors, fat boy?
Thanks for watching today's video, and if you liked it, be sure to leave a comment down below. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that like button, and if this is your first time on my channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. You can find all my social media links in the description down below, so consider giving me a follow on Twitter. Until next time, I've been Moral Paradox. Peace.